Hi, Dan.
Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. You?
I'm great, thanks. To be honest, I'm pretty excited as we're launching our Patreon over the next week.
Yes, what an absolute treat to start 2023 with. I'll tell you what, though, before we start, I'm parched. Do you have any drinks?
I don't. But our listeners could treat us to a dandelion and burdock every month to keep us hydrated for the podcast.
Sounds good, but what would they get out of it?
Well, for just £3 a month, they could get a full video episode with behind-the-scenes preamble and post-show chat every week. And let me tell you, that's usually a real treat.
That sounds like a real treat. That sounds awesome. I'm well up for that, but I don't need to because I'm involved. I don't need to pay.
No, but they'd get that a day earlier than everybody else with release on a Tuesday.
Surely, in that case, they'd also get the podcast version a day earlier as well.
Absolutely.
I'm concerned now we've become sellouts and decide to have adverts featured on the podcast. People will come for us with pitchforks.
Well, in this tier, they'd get the episode ad-free.
Excellent. Surely they can't get anything else in this tier.
Not really. Only an extra wrap-up podcast at the end of each season where we watch interviews and performances from the era we've discussed, and one watch-along episode a month where we'll watch and discuss a classic gig, film, or anything Arctic Monkeys related.
What, like Glasgow 2013, Live at the Apollo, Scummy Man, or Submarine?
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many more. But I'm not done yet. We'll also be putting out special birthday party episodes on each band member and associated band members' birthdays. And do you know what's good about that?
What's good about that?
Alex's is the 6th of January.
Amazing. Sounds like that'd be a great date to launch the Patreon then, with an Alex Turner birthday party episode ready and waiting for our patrons.
As always, Nick, you read my mind.
It's an amazing tier. And again, you get all that for just £3 a month.
Yep.
I don't see what else the next tier could possibly offer on top of that.
Well, if you're now well hydrated and you fancy grabbing a pint with me, our listeners can treat us to one in our local, the Cornerstone.
I'll be there in 10 minutes.
For just £5 a month, our listeners can access our Cornerstone tier and get all the great features already referenced on the previous tier. Plus, and I'm excited about this,
I'm on tenterhooks here. Or rusty hooks, as it were.
Nice. Well, our Cornerstone patrons will also get a monthly Last Shadow Puppets podcast where we'll do a deep dive into a track from the beginning of the catalogue all the way to the end.
Amazing. B-sides and all?
B-sides and all.
Wow, that's just outstanding. So all the previous features and the Shadow Puppets pod. Incredible.
Well, also, each subscriber gets to pick any song from any band or artist that doesn't feature an Arctic Monkeys member in the act or production, and we'll put the songs into a prize draw once a month. So, for example, you might pick Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. The winning subscriber will get a podcast in our format on that song. They'll stay in the prize draw until they win, and will refresh annually.
This all sounds amazing. Well, apart from the Ariana Grande bit, but yeah, that's a me issue. So, we're launching on Alex's birthday?
Yes, on the 6th of January, come to our Linktree or socials to access Patreon, where you can choose your tier of choice. Once you've signed up, you'll immediately start seeing the benefits with the Alex Turner birthday party episode.
This is all very exciting.
Isn't it just?
Well, we hope you're all as excited as we are and can help support us throughout 2023 and beyond. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We're Arctic Monkeys. This is Don't Believe the Hype.
That rock and roll, eh? Ladies! That sound means it's the end of the round. Time for the bonus question.
Cheers, dude.
That man just yawned. We're going to call it,
Don't Believe the Hype.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Don't Believe the Hype, the weekly podcast that just won't shut up about Arctic Monkeys, with me, Nick Lee, and him, Dan Holt. You right, Dan?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Yeah, raring to go, mate. Despite the fact I'm full of a cold, it's album release week when we're recording this, which is terribly exciting, isn't it?
It is, because, well, actually, about 2 hours before coming on air, do I say on air? I'm saying on air. On air, they dropped a new bloody song and video, didn't they? I ain't quite where I think I am. I forgot that right. It's one of those wordy ones that I mix up usually. But yeah, that's very good. Is all I'll say.
Yeah, and it'll be good to get to it in about 5 years' time, won't it?
Well, luckily, people at this point will have already heard the car reaction podcast by the time this goes out in mid-November. So yeah, probably we've not quite got the continuity thing going, have we? But it'll be weird if we recorded this and didn't, because we do it slightly in advance by about 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be weird if we didn't reference the new stuff, I suppose, wouldn't it? And that, because put it all in retro. We're not professional enough to go and put it all in retroactively and all that nonsense. No, you'll figure it out.
It'll be silly now.
We're covering songs from 20 years ago, so I think we'll be all right.
So with all this, with all the talk of songs in mind, what are we chatting about tonight?
Well, very excitedly, I hope you've got some dancing shoes with you, Nick, because we're going to be entering the 4th track of whatever people say, and that's what I'm not. Dancing shoes. What would your dancing shoe of choice be?
Oh, for me, it'd be a knackered Converse, mate, all the way.
You just
don't
said
have
that.
to worry about
you just said that because of certain relevance, haven't you? That's the. You mean
and that's what I'd go for, I think.
Well, maybe
don't
in
mind stick on them, it's fine.
In like a 2005 indie nightclub, that would be fine. But let me tell you, you go to a Cuban dance class in knackered Converse, bloodbath, mate. You'll be out there on your ass.
I won't be going to a Cuban dance class. If this is the type of attitudes that are coming forth before we even got there, I don't think I'll be getting involved in that. But something I will be getting involved in is playing a 30-second copyright-friendly clip of Dancing Shoes right now. That clip was taken. It's a very good clip, wasn't it? I was a big fan of that. Yeah, and that clip was taken from the band's headline set at Glastonbury 2007, where it was sandwiched in between "Still Take You Home" and "From the Ritz to the Rubble." It is also their 10th most played live song, according to Setlist.fm, with a total of 414 appearances. Dan, that brings us very nicely onto a mainstay of the show now. We just threw these jingles together, not realizing they would become the features that would make up the show. But it is indeed time for the information action ratio. The information action ratio
is the place to go. Dancing Shoes is the debut album's 4th track, and as with the previous, it was released on the 23rd of January 2006 and comes in at a rapid 2 minutes and 21 seconds, so even shorter than Fake Tales last week. It has 144 beats per minute, which explains the shorter length, and 81.8 million streams on Spotify. It was, of course, produced by Jim Abyss at the Chapel Studio in Lincolnshire, and our good friend Barney was back at the helm of the mixing desk once again with his faithful sidekick Owen Skinner. Ewan Davies also popped in to help Jimbo with the recording on this one as well. I did find out, and you'll be interested by this, I did find out that old Barney Barnicott founded Bluebell Hill Studios in 2008. It's a residential recording studio in Kent and has been home to some of the biggest records of recent years from artists such as Sam Fender, Yumi at 6, and Jungle. He also runs Studio Builds, which is a company that helps clients create studio space. Barney himself has also mixed Kasabian's debut and later Kasabian's West Rider album, also Coldplay's Parachutes, Placebo, The Temper Trap, and many, many, many more. So giving him some plugs there. We've both been nice about him. Listeners of last week's show have heard me be horrible about him. And now I'm giving him a plug. So, hope we're all good, Barney. Alex describes Dancing Shoes as being about people always looking to pull when they go out, however much they mask it. I'm not sure if that's a term used outside of the UK, but pull as a slang word means, if you're lucky, wooing a partner into spending a delightful evening between the sheets with you. But more times than not, it's just convincing them to have a 10-minute intense, sweaty, tongue-filled kiss under a nightclub's lamps. Dancing Shoes is in the key of C sharp major.
Wrong key though.
And other tracks in this key are Sweet Child of Mine by 80s mentalists Guns N' Roses, Mormon rockers The Killers with Mr. Brightside, and Never Gonna Give You Up by the man, the myth, the legend, Rick Astley. As Nick kind of encroached on the information action ratio here by mentioning the amount of times it's been played live, but as he invented this feature, I'll let him off. Yes, Nick was quite right. It has been played 414 times live and was first played on August 14th, 2004 at the Boardwalk, Sheffield, and last played on April 7th, 2019 at the Estéreo Picnic in Colombia. The year it was played most live was 2007, where it hit 99 times. But after that, it went on a steady decline with just 8 plays in 2009 and then no plays until it was brought back out of retirement in 2013. However, since the 13-14 AM tour, it has struggled to stay consistently in the sets. The track was sampled on Rhythms del Mundo by Cuban artist Buena Vista Social Club, comprising of Ibrahim Ferrer and Omar Portuondo. I'm sure I've butchered those names, but hopefully they didn't butcher this.
So absurd for you to say the first word, so you're waiting and waiting, and the only reason that you came to what you're scared for. Well, don't you always do the same? It's what you're there for, don't you know the lights are flashing down in here tonight, and so my exchange a glance, but keep pretending.
I love that isn't so much a cover as it is the song with some Cuban style music playing over it as well.
I wish all covers were like that.
It made me laugh that the top comment on the YouTube video for this just said, "I can't believe I spent years thinking this was the original version," which did make me laugh. Also sampled on this album of hits with a Cuban twist are Coldplay, U2, Jack Johnson, Franz Ferdinand, Maroon 5, and Dido, or as she's now known, Eminem. It also recently featured in Season 2, Episode 6 of Apple TV's Jason Sudeikis vehicle, Ted Lasso. When searching Dancing Shoes for information online, for little nuggets, I did get this headline. Ed balls to dust off his dancing shoes for Strictly Live. So if anyone, UK listeners, remember that. And it did also make me think of the awful time that Susanna Reid asked Alex if he'd ever appear on Strictly Come Dancing because she'd bet that he'd look good on the dance floor, which I'm sure we'll discuss at some point in the future.
Yeah. Well, that can be a Patreon special.
I've never seen anyone want to crawl inside their own body as much as Alex did at that point. This does take me to the reviews section of the show. Now, I did struggle to find any reviews this week. I have to admit, it was a barren desert out there. There wasn't even a fan review as far as I could see. But I did find a review on scenepointblank.com from the 23rd of January 2006. So an archive review by a chap named Neil. Now, not necessarily a Dancing Shoes review solely, but I wanted to read it all the same. So this is what Neil has to say. In years to come, when the inevitable I Love 2004 rockumentary hits television with its small army of washed-up never-wear celebrities in tow, I can say I lived through that. I was there putting copies of Franz Ferdinand on the shelves on release day. I danced unabashedly to that catchy Killers single. I shook my fist at many a U2 iPod commercial. So far, so good, Neil. More than anything, though, I remember the dark cloud that descended over my little record shop in August, the Libertines. What little taste remained in the national consciousness literally packed up and fucked off the day their second album came out. And here I am again, little under 16 months later, and the same thing has happened again with pretty much the exact same album from a different band. Oh, Neil. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the latest enemy cash cow, the Arctic Monkeys. The 4 members were quite possibly amongst the endless stream of generic art school fashionistas I had served all those months ago, because God knows they must own that Libertines album. Brought to national attention last year with their surprise #1 single, I Bet You Looked on the Dance Floor, which captured that 2004 sound of its repetitive jangly guitars and tempo changes anyone could predict. If you've heard this one song, then you have, for all intents and purposes, heard the majority of Whatever You Say I Am, That's What I Am Not. Didn't even get the title right. They wring everything they can out of their already limited formula on songs like Dancing Shoes. Just for diversity's sake, though, you have the token slow tracks, such as Riot Van, a song about running away from the police, underage drinking, and a spot of heavy-handed police work towards the end. However, NWA and Rodney King, this isn't. Being a bit of a chav seems to be the ongoing theme of the whole album. But hanging around the job centre and drinking cheap cider out of a plastic bottle, it sounds like he's making me emotional, this, but he's not. I just got something in my throat. Doesn't really resonate that well with me, so maybe it's just a bit over my head. About the only positive thing I can muster to say about this band is that they are at least better than Razorlight, but that's a little like boasting that you beat the retarded kid at school in a spelling test. That kind of offensive talk might have been okay in 2006, Neil, but this is 2022, and it's not welcome here. Neil continues, this is a bad rehash of a bastardization of a mediocre album that your old mod uncle probably owns on vinyl. Seek that album out instead if you must, but try to forget this, and let's hope it dies quietly in the corner. 1.5 out of 10. Never has a man gotten so many things wrong in one review, both present to his timeline and the future. Any thoughts on that, Nick?
I wish I had the Vicky Bob handbags thing ready right now.
Who do you think you are?
I've honestly been rendered fully speechless there. And that's even before I get onto the content. It's the factual errors and mistakes have done me over. I've not even got onto the lack of content.
Well, before you do, I'll just let you compose yourself, because I looked at Neil's profile on this site and he went inactive on October 16th, 2010. So I looked up the news that day. And also on that day, scientists discovered a new type of snailfish in the Peru-Chile Trench in the Southeast Pacific Ocean. Now, a snailfish is a small fish of cool or cold seas with loose gelatinous skin and typically a ventral sucker, which coincidentally is also the bio of Neil's Tinder profile. I can only assume from his review that the snailfish discovered was in fact Neil himself. Further investigation on my theory that Neil is nothing more than a slimy little bottom-feeding trench dweller is that he gave multiple great reviews to a band called Sinaloa, which features the letters you would need to make the word snail. And I'm not making this up, their album is called Oceans of Islands, and the cover of said album features a jellyfish. The conspiracy is real that not only does Neil quite clearly have the personality and musical taste of something I would dub a snailfish, but he may actually be one. That's all I'm going to say on Neil. I'm not scathing.
I think Neil's asking for it, if he asks my opinion.
Aside from the fact that he probably isn't an actual snailfish, all of that information was accurate, by the way. It did happen on the same day. Yeah.
It's an easy jump to make.
Yeah, well, as soon as I saw it, I thought, well, that's where he went. That's why he became an actor. He was plucked out of the sea. But yeah, no, it's not just the factual inaccuracies are dreadful, but it's how wrong he was about the band and what was to come that I find hilarious, and the fact that he thinks that they were kind of some art school fashionistas that were just like sort of pretending to like the libertines and stuff. And very funny.
It's like when you. Yeah, just a bit. It's like when you go back and look at the original reviews for The Office before everyone jumps on the bandwagon. It's like, what is this on my telly? I've got to pay the license fee for this.
Odd that he liked Mr. Brightside and Franz Ferdinand, but really took against Arctic Monkeys, isn't it? Maybe he's a bit of a posho and he thought that because they were a bit common or whatever, it was all job centre and cider, like he said, which it isn't. And I think it was stretch of the imagination.
Neil definitely cheers when the barmaid breaks a glass.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Or worse than that, I was once in a pub in Stockport in Cheadle, and somebody ordered a pint of San Miguel, and the barmaid said, sorry, we don't have any San Miguel glasses. You know that there's a special glass that you get San Miguel in for people that don't do that. We haven't got any San Miguel glasses. Okay, into a pint glass. And he kicked off. He was like, no, it's not all right. If I pay for San Miguel, I want it in a San Miguel glass. And I was like, what? Why is this? How little is going on in your life that this was really calmed you down? But why do you care? But yeah, he's. I think what Neil's done is mistaken working class for automatically being songs about job centres and stuff, hasn't he? Yeah, that's what he's done.
Yeah, he's going to absolutely shit himself when someone makes him listen to Sleaford Mods.
I reckon basically,
he's a terrible time of it.
I reckon basically he referenced owning a record shop there, and I think basically he's had some kind of someone's insulted him that's come into the record shop, haven't they? Buying that album. And he's taken it out. Yeah.
Have you seen the people who go in record shops and the people who work in them? Bloody hell! I'm surprised like people have remained unmurdered in this story.
Good one in Burnage though that the Gallagher brothers used to go to. Sifters that I used to frequent quite a lot. Yeah, good one. That was but the people in there aren't good. Now the guy that works there is a lovely old man, but the people that go in there, annoying. kind of guys that stand by the counter, like shaking their head, talking about, oh, the youth of today wouldn't know the beauty of a vinyl because of all online and all that, kind of just clinging on to that. But anyway, I think we're giving enough airtime to Neil, but I think I paid him back in kind. So, Dancing Shoes. All I'll say off the bat with Dancing Shoes, because we always kind of start with the music, don't we? Is that a better man than me could not dance to this on every single listen. Like, even if it's just a little wiggle or something, like, particularly from the second verse on. For me, this is just 2 minutes, 21 seconds of pure, ferocious joy. That's what I think of this.
That's good. That's the best way to end it. All right, we will see you next week. Just nail it. Yeah, I'm glad you've pointed out that it's hard to dance consecutively to it, because this used to be my getting ready song when I was going out. I'd have this on, I'd have a bit of a dance, bit of a wiggle while I was getting ready. Oh no, I couldn't do that now. Oh no, it's
really
that's a lot of moving to be done. I don't know how I did that every night. I must have been such a confident machine of a man for listening to that every single night.
No, I was referring to the fact that I still do it. I was listening to it the other day. It was 11 o'clock at night, and we'd recorded last week's episode, and I went walking the dog afterwards, and I thought, okay, well, I need to start listening to Dancing Shoes. So any excuse to put Arctic Monkeys on, I was like, right, need to start my research. And I clicked on it, and it was no one was around, and I was kind of shaking my butt like doing all that down the street. I couldn't help it.
Like a Polaroid picture.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Is that Nicki Minaj lyric?
it should now.
Be. Yeah. This song it's just a great dance. I mean, the way all the instruments gel in this song as well, particularly like the second verse when they all kind of come in, it just all works perfectly. Like there's nothing about this song. I know with Fake Tales last week, we were talking about how there's a little bit of experimental in there, and there's, this, it could potentially, your hot take was it a little bit out of place and stuff. This song is just perfect. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It knows what it is. Bing, bosh, done. Just joyful. And if this came on, if you were drunk enough, Nicholas, in a bar, and you were already dancing maybe, and this came on, you'd amp it up a bit. You'd turn it up to 11.
I absolutely would. I'd rip the knob off and go beyond 11.
All right, enough about your private life. I don't know about that. What bars are you going to? No, but yeah, no, listen to it again as well. Like, because I hadn't honestly listened to this for years at this point. Like, I know, again, I've said it before, but was obviously on the first show your favorite album, but it's one that I kind of dip in every now and again and listen to. But individual tracks sometimes, and I don't remember the last time I listened to this one. And what I did notice on this listen was and I'm always a Helder's fangirl on this, but the brilliance of Helder's drums in this, like the way when it comes in the first verse, and they build it, and he's kind of a little bit subdued, and then he lets loose in the first chorus a bit, but then when he goes into like full sexy, get your hips out and have a fucking dance mode in the second verse, like fully goes into it. We're talking about dancing a lot, but the song is called Dancing Shoes, I guess, so it's going to be the theme of the evening, I guess.
No, it is an absolute one of those early songs once again where everyone shines at some point. For all the talk of Alex is the main man, everyone has it, and it's really common from going through the Beneath the Boardwalk demos. But yeah, everyone has a little time to shine. It's great.
Yeah, and like because the actual, actually speaking of, because we mentioned Alex Elders, but and the bass is usual. Like the bass in this album is really cool. Like it's got a different, like I said, I think on the first episode, the View from the Afternoon, that it doesn't really. It's kind of got this bass that you don't really hear very often. The style that Andy was doing, and a little bit Stone Rosey, like Sally Cinnamon-esque sort of time on this album, I think, but overall, like, just kind of the bass is way more prominent and leading things than some songs do. But the rhythm guitar that Jamie's playing in the choruses and outro are like really like kind of a bit Arabella-esque, I guess, in the way that they kind of come in like out of nowhere, just like that kind of War Pigsy vibe. And they actually reminded me a lot of Queens of the Stone Age era Vulgaris, like threes and sevens, and even the guitar in No One Knows from Songs for the Deaf. It's very reminiscent of that kind of, I don't know, there's something about the guitar in considering it's quite a funky track. the heaviness of the guitar that came in just reminded me of that Queens of the Stone Age style of guitar at that time, and which obviously, as we know from what happens in the future, there is a link there. And I think Jamie was a huge fan of them at the time. I think he was the main Queens of the Stone Age head, so it makes complete sense perhaps that it would come through in the rhythm guitar more than any other. But yeah, I could really hear that in this, like, because Queen of the Stone Age are always seen as quite heavy at that time, but a lot of it, the guitars are quite like not like a heavy. They're kind of like get a little bit funky at times and stuff like that. There's a little bit something more to Queens of the Stone Age, I'd say, like with Arctic Monkeys, and maybe that's what Josh Homme saw in Arctic Monkeys before he took him under his wing.
Absolutely. We have no sales figures this week, do we? I just had my finger hovering over the jingle for that, and then I was thinking.
Did you think I'd forgot to go over it?
No. It just hit me then. I never thought I'd be that disappointed with not getting to use a jingle, but it's all right. I'll be fine.
You get to. You never know. As I do research, there might be like a surprise one before we get to the next one, which would obviously be. When the sun goes down, we can't. Maybe there'll be a surprise when they release Marty one or somewhere else. So you never know.
Maybe.
As well with this one, musically speaking, fantastic solo. I'd say probably the best solo we've had so far on this album. For them, I'd say, because it depends whether you count the start of I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor as a solo. I suppose you don't really. It's more of an intro outro, isn't it? But well, not an outro, kind of middle in it, intro middle, but it is a solo, I suppose, isn't it? But it's more. This one feels much more like a solo in the song that's there as an actual solo.
Yeah, it fits a lot more, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, it's the best we've had so far. It's probably the first we've had so far. But I think it might be the best. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of others, but I think this might be the most solo-y solo of the album, or a traditional sense. I also think this is the best end to a song we've had so far as well, personally, because it's kind of got that ferocious end. It continues up the pace and just goes like ding, 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 and it just stops. Yeah. And if I remember from next week, I won't reference next week's yet, but like the way the album's mixed, so it goes straight into that next track as well. It's very much like a non-stop, isn't it? But yeah, I think the end from The View from the Afternoon, A Bet You Look on the Dance Floor, Fake Tales. Yeah, I think this is the best end to a song so far. I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out as well the way the tracks blend into each other, like the way it was produced and everything, because that is very important when it comes to that. I think the fact it just doesn't let up until Riot Van, really.
Well, I think we'll probably, when we do a wrap-up one, and we'll probably go into the detail about the album as a whole, won't we, and stuff like that. But I think because a lot of people mistake this for a concept album, which not really, I suppose. You can kind of make that argument to a certain extent, but there's tracks that kind of throw that way off the mark. But I think there's an overall theme, perhaps, but it's not tied in as a concept. But musically, I think it could be we could say that it's mixed together in a certain way. Yeah, definitely, to get you to kind of give you that right the way up. And AM is very similar in that regard, that the slow bits come at the time when you perhaps need them to come, because it's a little bit too much. Very good work, Jim and Barney and Ewan and
all the gang.
Owen. Yeah, can't forget Owen. When I see him on Christmas Day, he'll be fuming if I miss him. But yeah, as well because I think before we get on to the lyrics, but I think this is another example, this song, of them perfectly matching the music to what the song's about. So do you remember last week I was making a big thing about the Fake Tales having an argument style. So it felt like it was building like an argument does and then blow up, and then the end is like the kind of when you finally let it go. I feel like with this song, the music really puts you into that feeling of not only like dancing in a nightclub, but also building that anxiety of wanting to talk to a girl. Maybe she gave you a look, maybe she didn't. And obviously lyrically it does that, but I mean the music just also amplified that. It really put me in the mind space of being in a sweaty little indie club in 2005. And it's not because I would regularly hear it in those indie clubs. I just think they do a real job of capturing that in the sound. I think probably, not intentionally, it's just that was who they were at the time. So it's naturally come through. But yeah, it's, I think this song is just the score to a fucking great night out. To be honest, this song is just this song's making me swear a lot for some reason. I'm very, very passionate about it. I don't think I've swore yet on this podcast, but I swore about 4 if
For fucking double Bacardi and Coke's barkeep.
If we were on HBO, I'd have used my one fuck a season 4 times already. Not HBO, though. No, that's different. Yeah, but
AMC
HBO's
if you want a series.
AMC won a series. That's it. Yeah, Mad Men had one every series. I remember it was like, oh, there it is.
Breaking Bad as well. So,
Breaking Bad, yeah. There's the fuck, yeah. But
don't swear as much as you expect. So, you know.
HBO. It's fuck this, fuck that, and you can do what you want. What am I talking about? You can do anything you want on HBO, except a hard penis.
I draw the line somewhere, mate.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to say else while on the music side of this track?
I'm glad you mentioned about it transporting back, because honestly, within the first 5 to 10 seconds, if I close my eyes, I am back there in an indie club hearing that. The smell of vodka and cheap energy drinks is permeating my nostrils. Yeah.
I actually can't drink. I can't drink energy drinks.
No, same.
I mean, thank God, because you shouldn't. But I just can't. The smell just takes me back to like when I'd have like 16 a night or something crazy because they were a pound. Somehow not dead, but
horrible stuff.
Horrible stuff. It just reminds me of like 42s off if I was as soon as I smell one. That entrance. You're right. But what's weird is it took me back more than any of the others. So like I wouldn't expect it from Fake Tales every from the afternoon because you didn't hear them as much. But it took me back more than Dance Floor did to the nights. And I think that might just be because of what the song's about and what the music and the vibe, and it is a bit dancey. I don't know, but because I don't remember hearing it every time we went out. Like Dance Floor would always be on. Dancing Shoes would sometimes make an appearance, wouldn't it? More in 42s than 55, I reckon. But
because it was a bit of a strange album in that respect, because you were hearing not just the singles being played on like the radio. I remember like, when it came out, XFM just basically playing the full album, just digging out tracks off it. Which I don't think had happened with an album since probably Morning Glory by Oasis was the last time I can remember that. I mean, so that's why songs like Mardy Bum are still so popular now, because it wasn't released as an official single or anything. Yeah, it's probably one of the most popular tracks just because it was getting played so often.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? And that's something that we can really dig into on the wrap up one, or on the Mardy Bum one. But you're right. I haven't thought about it that way before. But all these some of the classic tracks that people think of this album weren't even released. They were just really put out there as because Mardy Bum obviously is. I think you got a hot take for Mardy Bum. I'm going to store it away for then. I think you just gave me an idea. But I think it's a classic that was never actually released as a song, which is a rarity, isn't it? There aren't only the big bands get those. I think only the good bands. But it's just musically just perfect. I've got a couple more things to say on the music, but I'm going to save them for sort of later on. But did you have anything else, or should we move on to the lyrics?
Let's move on to the lyrics, I say.
Okay. I'm going to say this straight away. I think that this song lyrically lives in the same universe as Number One Party Anthem. And I mean that lyrically. I don't want to get into the ins and outs of what that song is about, because obviously eventually we'll cover it. But to me, it's more or less about the exact same anxieties that are addressed in this, I would say. So if anyone, it's a little bit of a tease that, in case you don't know what that song's about, but if you do, which probably you do, because you listen to this, you're an obsessive. But so yeah, I just think they're actually pretty much about the same. Or perhaps you could say Number One Party Anthem is one part of this song extrapolated out into a full song lyrically is what I would suggest. In there, I think, if you'd agree with that, and that's not even my hot take. That's just a bomb there. I've got to make up with insights for my faux pas with Fake Tales, haven't I? Really, by throwing some stuff out there.
That's
like I know I'll get the audience back on side. They were burning effigies of me last week. But I do have to say on this though, lyrically, and the shit shock horror you've seen your future bride is maybe one of the funniest lines on the album, because it does what good humor always does. That's one of the things with Alex on this. It's funny, but it's also like really clever and funny, not just like an easy gag. There's some good gags on this album and observations. Like we always mention John Cooper Clarke, but again, similar. But as good humor does that line, it encapsulates so much truth. Like, as someone who myself used to fall in lust that I had mistaken for love quite frequently on nights out, I can attest to that line being absolutely bang on. Every week there'd be a different, like, we used to go out about 2-3 times a week, and there'd be a different one every night that I'd be in love with. She's the one. I like to quote Mark in Peep Show. She's the one. In fact, one of my friends used to have a joke with me that was me when that was on. Like, he was like, "That's you. Like, she's the one. She's the one." And they weren't. But yeah, that I think that's such a clever, funny line. That one, and also a saying like that you don't hear a lot anymore. People saying that, do you? But it used to be quite a big slang thing to say. So for people outside of the UK, that the shit shock horror is something that people would say in a sort of sarcastic way, to say like, "Oh, shit shock horror," like something obvious, like, and something like jokey, like, "Oh, yeah, shit shock horror," yeah, that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But yeah, I think that's a really funny line.
In a song that's kind of peppered with them, that more than in any other song, that truth is rooted in. Like you said about the Future Bride line, that is exactly what it was like. You'd catch a glimpse at the bar, and within 5 minutes, you're married with kids in your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and really, it was just sexual. Let's be honest. It was just purely based on I don't know. You'd mistake those feelings for being in love with someone, but and then it would pain you if you didn't get off with them as well. Like, you'd be heartbroken until you got a kebab about 20 minutes later, and then you'd get over it. Maybe you'd go home in bed and the night yourself, and you'd get over it. But that would be that was the most PC way I could say that. But I think I did a good job. Yeah.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
I nearly said put the kids to bed. I thought, no, that's not a good analogy to say, is it?
No, make it worse.
Not a good analogy for that. Yeah, I'm making it worse. Cut that. One thing he does a lot on this album, and it escapes me as to whether this continues, but that was a very Alex interview-esque thing to say, wasn't it? Like, very like the look away and the slowly saying something really obtuse that means nothing. But yeah, one thing that I do on this is, and I'll look out for it as we go, but is to use the same opening lyrics but change a line or a word and reuse it at the end to make it feel like a whole brand new set of lyrics within the song. So, for example, he says, "Get on your dancing shoes, there's one thing on your mind." Then he says, "Get on your dancing shoes, you sexy little swine." And even though he then just continues to repeat the opening set of lyrics that he said, they just still feel so fresh, and you don't notice or care because of the little changes so good that he makes that you don't even realize that he's just repeating the same verse again. But he does that famously in a song later in this album again. But I'll be curious to see if it comes up again throughout this album and future eras, actually, that little trip, because normally, I don't never really thought about it, because normally, when someone reads, like Mr. Brightside is the same set of lyrics, isn't it, for both that way through, and but with this, it's like you don't even notice, because the line that he's changed it to is so good that you're still thinking about that line before you realize that you just heard the same thing. You're at the chorus again, you're still going, "Oh, what a great line that was." But yeah, I'd be interested to see if he does that again.
Well, we're seeing it on Cornerstone to an extent.
Yes, very much so, to an extent. Probably the most.
First one I could think of there, but yeah, there's definitely more. Definitely.
I think there is. There's one on this album that I'll just say, I don't know why I'm being so confused. Like, anyone listens to this. When the sun goes down, he obviously does that. Quite a lot. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But we did mention the sexy little swine line, so we got to talk about it really, because the way he sings swine is so northern and youthful, and it's almost Partridge-esque in a way. Like, it's just so joyous. Like, just to hear. I remember the first time hearing it, and there's just something about it that, just before you kind of say, I'm sure you've got thoughts on that, but just to let people know that. The funny thing about the use of that word for people that don't know is that the slang definition of swine would be, if you were to call someone a swine here in the UK, you would dislike them or think that they've been a bad person because they've behaved unpleasantly towards you, let's say. But then he's throwing an almost other slang meaning on top of that, like a more like the northern version of that slang, because he puts it after sexy little. And the way he performs it makes it sound more cheeky. So instead of it being you swine in an angry way, it's become a little bit more northern, and it's become like you swine like, oh, you're a bloody swine, but oh, I can't hate you. Ooh, yeah, like that, isn't it? The way he's done it. So it's got this very northern double slang on it, I'd say. He's kind of flipped the slang even more than it already was on the word.
It's like that peculiarly British thing that's just like, oh, if you're in a pub with your mates, you're like, come on, you cunt, we're going home. And it's like, there's no malice.
Yeah, and I've heard Americans talk about that, where they're here and they're like, people say that as a term of affection in the UK. They say the word cunt as a term of affection for someone. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of thing. But yeah, I just think it's funny the way that he says that in that way. And I've always wondered what people make of that aren't from here, let's say. But yeah, you sexy little swine. I just love that line. I'm sure you love it as well.
As you touched on, it is quite an obscure insult as well. I mean, it's a sad thing. My mum would call me if I was being naughty when I was a kid. So, oh, get upstairs, you swine.
I'm glad you took the sexy out of that bit. I didn't know where you were going. I didn't know where we were going with that then. Down a rabbit hole no one wants to go through.
Oh, stick clear with that one, bloody hell. But yeah. So minus your sex. Minus the sexy qualifier, that's the type of thing I'd get shouted at me as a child.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As a teenager, I got it shouted at me again without the sexy qualifier.
Oh yeah. But even when your mum said it, would be like affectionate almost, isn't it? It's an affectionate again term.
Yeah.
That's when I was swine in. No one's like, since maybe the 30s, nobody's called anyone a swine in a dramatic, serious way.
You swine!
You're a swine!
Hi, Matt Berry.
Yeah, I was going to say see Matt Berry for context. But yeah, I just think that's it's a strange almost line for him to put in there, but a great one. And it just enhances the song in a way. It just makes it that one line that makes the song even better, because not only have you had this great song that you can dance to and it's cool and it's accurate lyrics, it's then just said this line that's kind of thrown you off course where you're like, oh, but it's made you laugh. And yeah, really cleverly placed, I'd say, as he usually does.
It's one of those lines where if you're listening to this album with someone who's not heard it before, you'd be especially annoyed if they talked over that line.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, we're rewinding it. You're going to listen. Yeah, definitely. And he even says it, the way he says it, he even makes it more cheeky, doesn't he? With the like, sexy little swine. Yeah, I love it. And I think on that, the snary, we always talk about the snary sarcasticness in this album. It is there, 100% is there in this song. But I do think it gets overpowered in this one by the cheekiness. He sounds very cheeky, like he's got a little wry smile on his face in this one.
Yeah.
Like it gives the impression of the commentator, but with a knowing nod that this is something he does himself. Like he's kind of talking about himself, but from a third point perspective. Oh, I nearly said. Oh no, I got 1 point perspective. I nearly did it. Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm gonna have to get that alarm ready for next week because they're still popping up, aren't they?
Cute new places, keep on popping up.
See, I knew as I was saying that, I knew I'd left it open for you, but I just couldn't be asked.
You threw the ball and I had the bat. I had it. But yeah, no, I think just a great line, and I just think the whole song really, in terms of those lyrics and the way he builds up, and I may as well say it. I'll say my favorite lyric because I kind of need to discuss it anyway. So this is my favorite lyric.
Too busy with the mind on clever lines.
Wine up the rounders pitch on the canteen. There you go, that's for everyone there. Nice. I couldn't resist. I've been waiting to do it for weeks. I thought, no, I'll be professional, but this time I caved. Got it out of my system now, though, everyone, so don't worry. Get all these off. My favourite lyric is, and some might exchange a glance, but keep pretending to dance. Don't act like it's not happening, as if it's impolite to go and mention your name. Instead, you'll just do the same as they all do and hope for the best. And then as an addition, the only reason that you came, so what you're scared for. There's two reasons why I picked it as my favourite lyric. One is some of those rhymes, not just that they're good rhymes, but they're also the perfect words that he's chosen to put you in the headspace of the character of this song, let's say, because it is very much a glance you give So sometimes when I'm praising the rhyme, it isn't always just the rhyme per se, it's a selection of words. He uses the word glance, and it's a perfect word. Not only does it rhyme with dance, obviously quite an easy rhyme to do, but glance really sums up that when you're on the dance floor and you think you want to maybe go near that girl, and you do that kind of shimmy over so that you can touch backs with her. Because if you dance near her, you might accidentally make eye contact, and then you're really hoping she'll initiate it because you're such a coward that you won't initiate it. So you're waiting for her to initiate it, which has never happened. And you're very lucky.
Scarily accurate that was.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I've been thinking about this for years now. That girl, no, I'm joking. And glance, it really is like a glance that you give, and the fact that it rhymes with dance, just perfect. But yeah, it's more the word selection when I talk about rhymes. So even like name and same. Obviously really simple rhymes, but when put into the sentences of, it's impolite to go and mention your name instead of just do the same. Again, it's that thing of, she might be looking at you, but you're so scared that you act like it's not happening, even though it's what you want to do. But you're acting like it's really rude or awkward for you to go over and say something. And that's something that's even more a thing now, probably with the way online dating and stuff is. It's probably even weirder to go up to someone and talk to him in a bar, I'd imagine. But it's so not a great rhyme. But when you put it in the sentence to go mention your name, same, perfect. And the reason I added, because it's not part of this rhyming couplet, but the only reason that you came to what you're scared for just absolutely sums up that really, this is literally the only reason that you came. It's pure truth. It's something that I've lived, felt, experienced when I was younger, always bottling it, even though that's why I went yearning for something, but not trying to take it in any way. And then it's that line really encapsulate that. The only reason that you came to what you're scared for. Yeah. This is what you came for. This is what you come out for, is to try and pull girls, but you're too scared to do anything about it. So you can't win. But I feel like when he says that line, that is one of those times that he's talking to himself. I feel like a lot in this song he's talking to himself. This is about Alex's insecurities, of doing this as a kind of, it's mad to think that Alex could be scared of going to girl now, obviously, but, as a 17-year-old kid or whatever. Yeah, I could fully relate to this one, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Just listening back to it, every single word was like a knife, just taking me back to a moment that I didn't really want to relive again. To be honest, I kind of thought I was past having to relive it again, but no.
Yeah, you will, Nick. You will. Did you have a favourite lyric at all in this song? Have we already kind of said it?
Yeah, you said a couple there, but I do like the shit shock horror as well. That's something I kind of entered my vocabulary for quite a while after this album, to weird looks from people when I would say it and it just wouldn't fit the context whatsoever. But yeah, it's just one of them phrases that's kind of one of many phrases that I've only ever really heard in an Arctic Monkeys track that has still stuck with me.
Yeah, and people down south might disagree, but very northern phrases, very northern slang again. That it's that kind of people might not even know what that means or get the sarcasm from other countries. That it's kind of like that sarcastic, oh shit shock horror. You've seen your future bride again. Get a thing that your mate would say because that's what you like. But so it's crazy because it's not a long song, this one, but there is so much meat on the bones lyrically as there usually is. And I think even next week's probably an even shorter song, I would imagine, and that's probably very similar in terms of that. But so shall we say our favorite musical moments?
Mad sounds in your ears, they make you get up and dance, they make you get up.
So in the first verse, everything is subdued and building. So the guitar is palm muted, which is something that I could never master when I was playing, which just shows you it's really simple and I could never really master it properly. It shows you how shit I was and explains the stories about our band that we sometimes tell and why that went downhill. But the guitar's palm muted. So like I said earlier, my favorite musical moment is the guitar when it comes in the second verse. So it's just perfect. So it takes the song to another level, and that's when it really hits and takes you somewhere else. So it's because it's got that kind of meter, and then you've got the chorus, it's like ding, 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 and then the guitar comes in, it's ding, 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 and the drums come in as well. And it's just like the song's finally there, and it's if you were already enjoying it, now it's like raised its level, and everything's there. And that's the moment. Like that guitar is the bit when I always have to dance when that comes in, that ding, 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 ding. Like I listen to they do it a bit. They used to do it a bit different live actually. When they used to do this, I remember I listened to the Beneath the Boardwalk for this, and they do it in that where it's like, which by the way is pretty much the same, except it just like because it's cheaper recording, the guitar sounds a bit weirder and stuff like that. The bass not as good, but it's the that. Oh yeah, so when they go live, they used to do this bit where they go ding 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 ding. Like they just add this little thing, and it's those little touches. They did it on Beneath the Boardwalk, but it's those little flourishes that just like make you go, ooh, that they used to do live and changes it a bit, mix it up. Which they used to love to do is make those little changes. I can only imagine like when they were recording it professionally, like Jimbo was like, "No, come on, let's keep it to the same riff for like consistency or whatever. You don't want to be just throwing in little flourishes on a recorded track. Save that for the live stuff, lads." I would imagine was what big old Jimbo said.
Where do you reckon? Where do you reckon Barney was while this was going on?
Canteen.
Okay, the brews for everyone.
No, just eating. I don't know. I've never seen. I've never debated that one. Just doing nothing, probably. Nah, he was mixing money, mixing away, mixing a cake. I don't know, whatever he was doing.
He was both mixing and assistant mixing.
Yes, assistant to the mixing assistant.
Yeah.
yeah. Funny. Slagged him off again now. Keep doing it, don't we? Keep falling into it. And yet we're trying to chase him for like an interview or comment.
Yeah.
We just keep
Let's get in touch, Barney.
He's probably busy making Sam Fender's next album. That's Monkeys again, though. Strange, isn't it? Maybe James Ford has his own people that he uses. No room for Barney.
I'd imagine to look at James Ford, you look at him and think that's a man who's got his own people.
Yeah. I mean, it might even be like a well, we'll see when we get to the credits for the later albums, but it seems quite closed group, doesn't it? When they're recording, like it's the band and James Ford, and they kind of do a lot of stuff as well, like stuff like that. I mean, obviously there'll be people that are setting up and stuff, but yeah, good old James Ford. Get wait to the James Ford days. We get there,
Can't have there's no Barney clogging up the canteen there on Tranquility Base, I tell you that.
Well, Jim Abyss is. I will do this next week because we haven't given Jim Abyss his credits. So, because I'm trying to, I don't want to give all. We've got a full album of tracks from the same album, so there's only so many credits to give. So I try and spread them out throughout the tracks for the different ones. And Barney just keeps popping up, bless him. But I'll give some Jim Abyss credits next week because I'm pretty sure he's someone that's done some famous albums, and they specifically got the record. Domino got him in because they were like, "This is a huge album; it needs to be right. We need to get this. This guy's like the guy to go to for this one," because I think he might have done like a famous Smiths one or something like that. Quote me on that, but I will come with some Jim Abyss information for you all next week. But yeah, that's my favorite musical moment there. That guitar when it comes back in, and I have to say as well that I think I said about number one party anthem, but I think that guitar in the second verse is very much lives in the old yellow bricks family cottage of songs.
Yeah.
Like it's got that similar kind of beat to it, like similar kind of playing style, I'd say.
Yeah, I can go along with that. We need like a really disastrous take at some point because we're just not getting disastrous takes. You'll come out with a take and I'll be like, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
There'll be some, I think, as we get into the. I mean, that's not my hot take. My hot take's coming, so maybe there's still time for you to disagree. But we've got. Yeah, I mean, it's, when we're talking about the favorite lyrics and the favorite musical moments, it's going to be very unlikely that I'm going to go, no, I think that's shit, mate. To be honest, because we are fangirls, so I very much doubt that. But the hot takes, I didn't, to be fair, I didn't embarrass you with a hot take you had, so we have been. It's not uncharted territory for us to disagree. But yeah, I think there'll be some maybe in the future that you'll go, I think you're talking shit, but we'll see.
Well, let's see if that's the case. Is this the time to get onto your hot take?
Unless you want to say your musical moment first, unless we've already discussed it.
No, because it's the same as yours, and that was my diplomatic way of just moving.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'll let you go first next week. Let's see. Let's go there because we got the same ones.
That's one of the pitfalls of having incredibly good taste.
It's a red hot revelation off the tip of a tongue.
I think as the songs get a little bit more complex, we'll find things that we both find more different pleasures in than the other one, maybe, perhaps, yeah. That's not my hot take. That'd be a weird hot take, wouldn't it?
Yeah. My hot take for the week, different people have different opinions on things.
Very, very specifically about us as well. Although you did that last week. Is that an impression of my voice that you're doing there, or is it just a generic, like, train spotter voice?
It's my generic train spotter voice. I don't have many comedy voices in my
because I thought... I got a little bit listening back. I was like, it does sound like a bit like my voice a bit, and then I started to get paranoid. So thanks for that.
No, it's my
complex now.
It's my generic train spotter gimp voice. This is what I use to read emails on my football podcast.
Okay, good. I could have done Neil's review in that voice, couldn't we? Knob. Right. So my topic is there are a lot of songs about trying to get with somebody when you're a teenager. I think we can agree on that. That's not my hot take again. That would be limited. I think this is the greatest ever song to encapsulate the reality of that. So what I mean by that is, and I say that because take, for example, a really cool rock song like Teenage Kicks that captures the intensity and desperateness of youthful romance. And what I mean by this one being the best ever, obviously it's not the best song about young love and romance, stuff like that, obviously. But this superbly and accurately represents the anxiety side of it. The non-sexy side where you're actually just too scared to go and act on the thing that you're desperate for. Like I'm not saying it's the only song ever to address it, as I'm sure there's lots, particularly maybe in like the pop punk world and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that very specifically lyrically, I think this might be the most accurate at representing that feeling of actually putting you in that headspace. Is what I would say is my hot take. Like, so it's very, before anyone's like, there's this song that I'm doing your voice. It's this song that accurately, like, blah blah blah. This song does this about being scared to speak to a girl. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that for me, this one reminds me of that feeling, or accurately represents it more than any other. I would say, in a fun way as well. It's not too heavy. It's not like
it's a similar feeling to the one you get when you listen to "How Soon Is Now" by the Smiths as well.
Yes.
Similar themes, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, you've just named one there that someone could disagree with me on. But for me, this is the one that makes me the way. How maybe it's very personal. Maybe it's just the way it accurately represented how I felt in this way.
And "How Soon Is Now" does drag on a bit, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, this song does know. The good thing about Arctic Monkeys is they usually know. It's very rare you get a song about it. Like Oasis were known for dragging songs out. You're like, bloody hell, lads, come on. This song could have ended 5 minutes ago. But
yeah.
I think of a single Arctic Monkeys song that's outstayed its welcome. Probably the longest song I can think of by them. It's like 4 stars out of 5. End goes on for a while, but it builds to a nice little crescendo. So it kind of works. But it's very rare that I'll hear an Arctic Monkeys song and go, that was a bit too long. If anything, like the new one that dropped today that we discussed earlier, I felt could have gone on a little bit longer. Actually, it ends quite abruptly, but they don't. They know not to outstay their welcome.
It's not the same about Body Paint, and then they go and release live versions of it where it's just an extended outro. Oh,
lovely stuff.
Big fan of that.
Big fan. But yeah, that's my hot take. Again, as always, please feel free to get in touch. How would they get in touch to disagree with me or show me the error of my ways? Is what we'll say. Because we're all friends.
They would get in touch. We are all friends. I'm glad you said that, because if you also feel like we're all friends, then you can get in touch with us. Just go onto the episode description on your podcast player of choice, where the thing you're looking at right now, and all our links will be there. You click the little link tree, and all our links will be there to our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, the whole lot. They will all be there. Or you can email us, as people have done. We are arcticmonkeyspodcast@gmail.com. All in the right order, otherwise it won't make it to us.
No Facebook presence, because if you've still got friends on the wall, maybe you shouldn't have called that thing friendly at all. Hey,
you've just been stepping away from Facebook for years just so you could one day use that throwaway line.
Well, I certainly didn't hear you going through any of the socials because I was preparing saying that. I can tell you that. And anyone watching the video will just see my eyes zoning out, like thinking about how I can slip that in. But yeah, the minute we referenced everyone being our friends, I was going through every song in my head like, friend, what's the best lyric? What's the best lyric I can do? But yeah, no, that's it's the one with this song. I think this is probably one of the shortest episodes we've done, but I feel like we are at the end. But I think it's a fast song. It does, and it's a brilliant song, and the lyrics are incredibly funny and accurate, and it's a rare thing for a song to be funny, witty, but also make you feel express something negative like an anxiety. It's very rare that you get that from a comedian-esque, I'd say a stand-up comedian-esque of Alex here with the way he does this song, and musically brilliant, all round, excellent track.
Yeah, with the review that we had to go over before from fucking Neil, bloody Neil and his review, but he seems to lump them in with all these bands, the likes like Razorlight and Franz Ferdinand, where they've kind of got this false bravado, but with this track, they're not hiding behind anything. It's just an intellectual study of how bloody anxious a situation it is.
And he was talking nonsense, wasn't he? To compare Libertine's second album being the same, like the Arctic Monkeys ripped it off with this album, is I don't even know where to start with that. It makes no sense whatsoever. No similarities whatsoever I can think of, apart from the fact they're both a bit fast at times.
Yeah. And the singers both have heads.
Yeah. Bizarre, very bizarre. But he got his, so yeah. Let's move on from Neil.
Yeah, but we've told Neil.
We told Neil he went inactive in 2010.
Yeah, fucking snail.
Bet he's dead. And you notice I didn't say I hope he's dead. I said I bet he's dead. I was just commenting on it before. I said I bet he's dead. Bloody Neil. If you do know where Neil's record shop is, I mean, you'd have to really piece together some information to know that, because all we gave you was a name and the fact that he wrote an Arctic Monkeys review on an obscure website in 2006. But if you do know where his record shop is, then please go and brick the windows in. No, I'm joking. I was not advocating the use of violence. I was speaking to someone on their level.
Go to his record store and then maybe turn up with like a load of spares to trade in that he'll have to go through
just specifically the second Libertines album, and people say I'm not just a whole box of them to give him, leave him on his doorstep. Yeah. I'll just go in. I'll go in with like a 10,000 word essay on why everything he said was wrong, and just make him listen at gunpoint. No, I didn't say no, not at gunpoint. I just put my hand in my pocket, or a banana.
Yeah,
banana.
Yeah,
I'll be responsible to have an actual gun. This is the UK anyway. We outlawed guns.
That showed him.
Yeah, plenty of knives though. Yeah. Anyway, we're going way off topic. Let's shall we close things out, mate?
Yes, indeed. So if you didn't hear all of the above stuff, make sure to follow all our channels, review us. We will be back next Lesbian Wednesday, won't we, Dan? Where the song of choice, I say song of choice, the next song in the order that's been given to us was
song of choice by Arctic Monkeys when they were structuring this album, you could say. Well, I'd love to tell you what next week's song is, Nick, but I think I've done a whoopsie. Yes, for all you Frank Spencer enthusiasts out there, you probably couldn't see for the lights, but you were staring straight at me. I know we said we wouldn't say it's a classic every week, but I wouldn't say this is a classic actually. But that's not to say I'm going to say anything negative about it, but I'm just saying I don't think it's a classic like the others are. It's one of those ones on the album that's, I mean, in terms of what people in the pop culture. It's not.
Yeah, I think there are 3 other songs that fit in with that, so we'll discuss that next week, and we can on this out. I think there's 4 songs in total that will probably pass a lot of people by, and next week's is one of them.
As we go fair, I'm going to say those 4, but to you, well, I spoil it now for the audience, but yeah. But yeah, I can't wait to do that one. And I had to make sure that I checked like 4 times I got that title right, because it's so long, and I was like, I hope I don't miss one of the words up or something. But interesting title that I'm sure we'll discuss next week.
Yeah, and with it being a long title as well, I'm going to prepare a list of other songs with similarly cumbersome titles.
Don't give away the content now. Don't. Don't sell. Give away
that wasn't allotted content. That just fell into my head. And we'll probably fall out again straight away before next week.
Yeah, I'll do it and then say, oh yes, yeah. And you'll be editing it back a few weeks and go, I thought of that, the prick.
Oh God. Yeah, we have indeed been Don't Believe a Hype, and we will be back next week. Don't forget, do all the stuff, follow, review, all that caper, because it's meant to be pretty important. Dan, say goodbye to the lovely people.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll see you next week. Don't Believe the Hype is hosted and produced weekly by Nick Lee and Dan Holt. The music used in the titles is royalty-free music courtesy of Les FM. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast player of choice to be notified every Wednesday when a new episode is released. And if you want to help us out further, be sure to like and review to help make us more visible to like-minded souls. We will see you next week with more of the same.